Hello and welcome back to our Chapter 4 lecture on gathering evidence, interviews, and observations. Now let's move on to learning objective number 3, describing the types of interviews and interview questions that are commonly employed by forensic accountants. A formal interview is systematic in nature, and it consists of a blend of open-ended and structured questions. Open-ended questions do not call for a yes or no response, but they're more designated to simulate conversations. So they allow interviewees to tell their own stories, using their own terms and offering information that the interviewee considers important. In contrast, structured questions are short answers, like what is your age, what's your marital status, describe your education, or close-ended with a yes or no response. So more formal interviews begin with structured or introductory questions and then progress to open-ended or more informal questions. An informal interview is unsystematic in nature and that it is not controlled by a specific set of detailed questions. The 3 types of questions that forensic accountants commonly employ during interviews are introductory questions, informational questions, and closing questions. So introductory questions are personal information, state your name, address, etc. They're used to establish rapport or create that comfort and that connection with the interviewee. They are generally structured questions like short answers or yes or no, and they should be non-confrontational and non-threatening. And it's usually used as a norm for the interviewee to kind of observe their body language, their tone of voice, and their attitude. Now, informational questions are open-ended questions that require a monologue or a response. They could also be closed-ended questions that limit the responses to yes or no as well. Informational questions can consist of leading questions that contain the answer as part of the question. Informational questions can also be direct questions like that address a specific fact or a specific event. They can be cross questions, so it's the same question that's asked different ways and at different times to confirm consistency of the interviewee's responses. And then there could also be review or repeat questions that are just used to summarize and confirm the understanding of both parties. Lastly, closing questions are intended to summarize and gather any additional information that the interviewee wants to share. This type of closing questions can include leading questions that are based on previous responses. And the closing questions conclude the interview. Thank you for watching this lecture.